All right, so anyone here who was born before 1995? A lot of folks. So do you guys know what is passbook? You know it, okay. You know where is your nearest bank? You know there is something called passbook and checkbook, and then banks actually exist in a physical place as well. For most of us, you know where is the bank? This is the bank, isn't it? I mean, tell me what we cannot do with this. I can transact money, that's a fundamental job of bank. I can apply for the loan. I can get my credit card, I can pay. I can send money to you if you praise me well, maybe, isn't it? So, banking requirements have changed. This new Gen, this is Gen Y and Z, so-called, they have changed the way, or their expectation is very different. They don't intend to visit bank in person. I mean, even I wouldn't want to visit bank in person. That's a kind of depressing place. You never take your kid into bank. And the reason is there is queue. And you have to fill up some form when there is no pen around it. So requirements have changed, and banks realized that. And they thought, let's change our structure as well. And of course, since everything is going digital, they had to adopt their journey of digital transformation, which is a rocky road, to be honest. Because everybody wants to get into cloud, but half the way they realize, oh, this path is not working for me. So there are a lot of banks who want to adopt this journey of cloud, and they have taken this path. But now what is happening, maybe they are not realizing enough potential. Maybe they are uncertain about their future. Whatever the reason is, we have seen that most of the cloud adoption in banks struggle. You might have zeroed down on your cloud partner. You might have started even project, but then you realize, no, it's not working for me. So if you are a solutions architect, if you are a tech lead, if you are a business owner, maybe I can help you. My name is Ashutosh. I'm going to present the session on rocky road of cloud adoptions as bank. I'm AWS ambassador and a consultant. And being a consultant, I have a very intriguing job in the world. I course correct people that, okay, this is how you are doing. Maybe if you do it this way, you can yield better results. What we're going to cover is we will have a look at what requirements we have from future bank. How does this cloud adoption actually works, and what kind of challenges it throws? And then in what all format we see business resistance. And then we will talk about how we can tackle those challenges. Then of course, lesson learned, conclusion, thank you, scan me, okay? So let's get on to it. So imagine if Amazon makes a bank. How would you imagine it, right? You would find that less clustered bank at your disposal with very simple UI. There wouldn't be much of wait time that, okay, we will come back to you in 24 hours. So this new gen bank, if you can imagine that Amazon is making, that's what we are expecting from our banks as well. We expect most of this. And let's not go down one by one, but think about this personalized customer experience. How many of you get that phone call every alternate day or every day, twice sometimes, from SDFC personal loan? It's quite frustrating, right? What would I do? If I didn't need it yesterday, I don't need it today. I might need, but it doesn't work that way. So I want loan, but I might be one of those 100 people. Other way around, it's just cold calling, and it was fine back when the year was 1950. Not anymore. Same goes with our Open Bank API. I personally use some apps like Cred for paying my credit card. They give me some points. So how does Cred get my credit card statement? That is Open Banking API. We want most of these things. Then we need seamless omni-channel experience. I was in Frankfurt a couple of months back. I landed there, and I wanted to make a transaction. but there was some issue with my mobile network. So I can connect to the airport Wi-Fi, but since mobile network is not there, mobile data is also not there, I cannot get the OTP. It's quite a catch, right? And that's okay. And we already understand that SMS is old gen technology. My bank, for a change, they also send OTP on your WhatsApp. Think about it if I didn't have that option. So that's how it works. It's a very different generation we are living in. And we want all of this, and plus more. Banks understand that. They want to help us. They are saying, fine, we are gonna modernize ourselves. Everybody fumbles here, right? Left, right, up, down. Okay. So AWS has almost everything you can think of under the hood to help you. It's a bunch of services. I think my friend here would know more than me. You have things like TextRact. You put up a form, it will scan and give you the result that what is written in that form. You have DynamoDB that can help you with your transactions. You have ledger databases. Everything can be done. They know it. There are 400 services with AWS. But the problem lies when you start implementing it. So with the banking, it's a different. We start with a system that was probably deployed in 1990s. They have heavily integrated softwares. They might be using certain softwares. Those languages were written before I was born. There was a case with one of the courier service I was working with. They wanted to modernize this app. They desperately wanted to do that, but apparently it was written in Delphi. The only person in UK area who could read and rewrite that code works 1 hour every week. Simply, it was impossible. So we are living in this kind of system where we have monolithic systems, we have heavily integrated program, then vendor who is still living in 17th century. Then, of course, banks deal with the quantum of data. They have relational database, non-relational database. Where is our friend, vector guy? Vector databases, on-paper databases. They need it to store and maybe just to maintain compliance. They may not use it. And then regulation and compliance. I think this is the part people take it super seriously. And people are skeptical about it, that I'm going to bank, is my data safe enough? And we want them to be skeptical because that's what keeps us at the bay to secure our data. The problem here is we don't understand most of the regulatory compliance, or regulators have not yet made it very clear to us what kind of regulation we have to implement when we move to cloud. All that makes everything tricky. Then we have vendor onboarding system. Banks might have onboarded some preferred vendors, or they are impaneled vendors. That job they have done 2013, and since then so many things have changed. Now our current vendors at bank may not have this adequate skill set to move them into cloud. And then we have cost concerns. Everything requires sponsor. If you want to go to cloud, you need to have first buy-in, somebody who's going to spend first 5 million and say, fine, you take my 5 million, go to cloud, I will chase rest of the guys. And make no mistake, today banks are collection of startups. Gone the days when SBI was considered as one single unit. Now SBI is what? We have SBI banking system, that's a retail. Then we have their mutual fund. Then we have their credit card. They might have some insurance, God knows. But yes, it's a collection of startups, and they have very different priorities. Not everybody wants to keep customer happy, right? Not just SBI, but few part of it, few part of the banks, they want to just get the money out of the customer. We'll see what happens afterwards. So who's going to put that upfront cost? So these are the few challenges. Again, this list goes on, and we put down in the table, and the CTOs and all CEOs, they talk, fine, let's go down to digital transformation lane and do that. But then, this happens, glitch. All good? So resistance takes place. What is resistance? If one of you do not like food there, right? And maybe you are just one of those. You'll make sure that 10 other people will do that, right? That's the problem with resistance. So this is something which is faced by some part of the organization, and then it's cascaded and propagated. So first one we see, and maybe you guys can correlate if you have ever worked on modernizing a bank. Slow rate of migration, that we have embarked this journey, but we were supposed to be at this stage by April 6th, but we are lagging behind by 1 year. The second one is the new ways of operations, because India is literally hub of operations and support, right? Infosys, Wipro, LTIMindtree, HCL, we all do that. And then, if your customer says, fine, we are going to cloud now, you wouldn't be sure, what skills do I need? In fact, few of us are very, very uncertain that whether I can survive in the bank or not. Then underachieved ROI. So what we're going to do is, in this next 10, 15 minutes, I'm going to talk about those three problems from very design thinking perspective. So we will isolate these problems as much as possible so that they do not overlap with each other. Then we will use simplified version of design thinking. We will understand the problem. This is the methodology we generally use. We understand the problem, we collect the data, we interact with customer, we hear them, we conduct workshops. Then we come to ideate stage. This is very important stage. And in this stage, we co-create the solution or prospect solution alongside customer. This is a make or break phase. What happens if we do a normal consulting exercise and we propose a solution that customer has just given in? They may not have much of buy-in. But if we keep customers involved, we ask them, okay, fine, do you want it this way or that way? You keep checking with what they have done in the past. Make use of the efforts customer has done to solve those problems. We can co-create the project. And then we move on to accelerate phase, which is pretty much just giving it, this is what you should do now. These are very much actionable items they should do to overcome from the problems. If you are doing system maintenance or system engineer, you are dealing with Linux and Windows host, or maybe you are doing something with the databases. Once cloud came, things changed. The ways you were dealing with systems and databases is no longer the same. And now amplify it. Now your entire org has changed into cloud. So this is the first problem we see. They don't know how exactly their organization would look like. Whether do they need a center of excellence? If they need it, who's going to be part of that? What kind of L1, L2, L3 support they need to put? What kind of skill enablement plan they need? And this is something we have done with a couple of banks, and those banks were really fumbling to begin with. So what we do in this phase, we understand their current organization. So key here is that if you bring any change, it will bring a lot of resistance as well. You cannot push change at nuclear level. What we need to do is, we need to understand how the organization is operating and try to bring as less change as possible in first go. And then see how people are reacting. We understand the mindset and culture. So this is very important because this particular stream is very much empathetic. You cannot give a mandate that tomorrow onwards I have to use cloud and you have to become all of a sudden cloud network engineer. That doesn't work that way. So gather as much data about people, their behavior as possible, and then work on how you can maximize their reusability. How do you do that? A system engineer with probably SysOps certification from AWS can be probably at foundation level of getting the job done. Start drafting plan around that. We worked on their skill upliftment plan. I was an Accenture a couple of years ago. We have been given a mandate that everybody from janitor to CEO must have cloud practitioner certification. Why is that? Because that makes us think that cloud is actually our friend. It's no longer, it was never in fact, it's not a technology that's going to take our jobs away. So embrace the cloud, and that's a fundamental problem we deal any which way in the bank. And banks, they have max amount of resistance. People there are, they are serving their third decade in that company, and all of a sudden you cannot say that just because you do not know how to restart EC2 instance, you will lose your job. You cannot simply say that. So we need to work on skill upliftment plan. Start with your certification matrices, see who can be aligned to what. Create a composable architecture from your org-wise perspective as well. Think of, again, as a startup. Today, when they are into this cloud space, we are learning about cloud. But tomorrow, if a bank acquires a new small-scale bank, then you have to scale it same way. You cannot start training again. So make a system that can be scalable. And that's what I meant by composable architecture of enterprise. So what we did in this process, we presented a cloud operating model. What is operating model? That tells what kind of organizations you can have under cloud umbrella, where your center of excellence or CCOE would sit. Then we also promoted this community of practice. Anyone heard of this word, community of practice, before? Okay, let me ask this question. A community of practice, what kind of impression does it bring? Does it bring a kind of mandate or empathy? कोई तो बोला ऐसा करके. Empathy, right? So that's a cultural change. Once again, I'm talking. So you need to bring that empathy. You need to create a team of some experienced folks who have done really great in their lifetime, but since maybe they are in their 50s, they are not as adaptive to cloud as we are, but we need to make use of them. So we supported that, and this is how we solve this problem of people. Going further, this is very much relatable, and almost every project has this. That's the value of money. When clients realizes that the amount of investment they have made in cloud is not yielding adequate outcome, that's when this resistance comes. The sponsors will all of a sudden say, boss, unless I see what cloud is going to bring to me on paper, I'm going to try this program. And so many times we have seen that. I have seen people going back, projects being stopped because of that. And that has to do something with how this ROI is interpreted. Most of the TCOs or cost calculator of cloud do not, I mean, they will, when you say that, okay, I want to calculate total return on investment on cloud, what kind of things you will include? Cost of server, cost of databases, licenses, storage, maybe building cost, DG set cost, security, data centers, all that, right? And then you will compare how much it's going to cost in cloud. And do the plus minus, and you will find out this is what it is coming. Tell me this thing. Would you include cost of outage we had last year, because our servers were down for 1 hour maybe, and what kind of outages, I mean, whatever the kind of outages was, but if 1 hour my business is down, there should be some penalty. Right? We are losing business. We do not include that. Do we include what kind of value it will bring in monetary term if we provide a better customer experience that only cloud can leverage? All these factors provide a better cost analysis. And unless we consultants do this job, the ROI calculation is flawed. So in this stage, what we did, we understood their users report, we understood their customer experience, past outages, and then we started working towards their adoption program. We need to make people realize that unless you create a proper mechanism to reflect this cost, your TCO will always look compromised. But that's one part of it. Then there comes a part where people think cloud is just a data center. Now, this is where the problem begins. Cloud is data center. Okay, I was giving an example to somebody outside. Think of cloud as an Uber. You do not buy your own car because you want to save some money. So you use Uber and you pay regular fares. But if your Uber is parked morning 6 to night 12, you probably will end up paying more than your own car. Think of cloud that way. It's a consumable product. Every dollar that you spend in cloud must bring more than $1 at least. And that's why we need a proper FinOps framework. A FinOps is another misunderstood work. I have seen people doing FinOps. How they do it? They will shut down EC2 instance. They will say, now my development environment does not run at night. Or I have moved my S3 images to glaciers. Or I have used RDS for my certain databases. You can keep on doing that. Tomorrow you'll do that, right? And then you have to do it next week as well. The cost of doing itself is very high. So that can be a part of actionable item from FinOps. But the problem is FinOps is a cultural term. You need to fix these things that why that EC2 was any which way running from during non-office hours. So you change the way you are using cloud and arrive at a cultural shift, and that's what the FinOps is. So in this process, what we did, we derived a proper FinOps framework. We created a cloud adoption model, and then, of course, we had to provide everyone revised total cost of ownership. And then we came back and realized now stakeholders are much more pleased. Again, nothing has changed for them. They have to still accelerate. But at least they got better control over the product. Realistically, they started thinking now things are going better. The third one is slow migration velocity. So how much time you think it takes for a simple .NET application to move into Lambda? One application. If you have to rewrite for Lambda, maybe a month or two, right? That's a problem. So doing things cloud way is good, but it comes with a hefty cost and time. And that's why they complain about slow migration. So when there is a discussion about how you use the cloud, there are two schools of thoughts. On our left-hand side, they say, use it cloud way. Use managed services, use Fargate, Kubernetes, containers, SES, SQS. Other side says, fine, use it. But it's going to take 5 years for you to move 100 applications. And who's going to pay for that 5 years? So it's always time versus, or let me put it, it's a trade-off, whether you want a quality of cloud or you want to quickly move into cloud. And that battle goes on. So what we did to solve that, we need to understand that how business case was ever evolved for cloud, what kind of migration they wanted into cloud. We understood their processes, their outlook of transformation, the value they expected. Then we provided, okay, how many of you have heard of R-lane analysis, where you decide whether application would be rehosted, re-architected, re-engineered, retire, or what is the other one? Some other re. So now, add one factor. Fine, you want to migrate this app, you want to move it to Lambda, fine. Add one factor, that is how much time it's going to take, how much money it's going to take. And all of a sudden, you will find that your R-lane analysis has completely changed. Maybe earlier you were thinking that 10 applications can easily go to cloud via application modernization way, but now you are finding that it's going to cost 200K for that. So we drafted a proper wave plans to provide a complete offset. In each wave, we mixed up these applications. Some of those who were ideal candidate for lift and shift, and then some of those applications, those were fit for refactoring. And then we created a wave plan that goes, when it goes, Your business owners are also seeing the progress. At the same time, we are also yielding the value of cloud. So that's how we solve this problem. And again, ticket is there, time's up is already there. So we have few lessons that we have learned, and that starts with the first one I'm going to emphasize. Digital transformation is an ongoing journey. Digital transformation never gets over. Tomorrow is a cloud. Today is a cloud, tomorrow it's going to be moon or maybe Jupiter. Where you're going to stop, right? So cloud migration is just a phase, remember. I have never seen a company who said, I have fully got digitally transformed. Doesn't happen. Then, remember, whatever is technically feasible, that's not business-wise practical. We can do it. Just because we can do it doesn't mean we should do it. Unless we have a proper business case to do that, it doesn't make sense. So we can put our applications into RDS and DynamoDB, but unless you find a business case, you would have a hard time to convince CTOs why we are getting into cloud. Migration is important. We want to move into cloud, but more than that, data security is. So if you do not have plan to keep data super secure, you'll always be given challenges, and that will further delay the process. And most of the roadblocks that is related with the people can be solved by having a right operating model. So problem with the operating model that we see is everybody talks about how the operating model in cloud would look like. But today's stage and cloud stage is probably 3 years apart. People do not talk about what's going to happen in these 3 years, and that's where the most of the resistance comes into picture. With this, we have some success stories. Those are directly copied from AWS website and probably rewritten using some kind of chat GPT. We have HSBC, who has done tremendous job. We have Capital One, DNB, they have done fabulous job migrating to cloud. But still, most of the banks are in this journey midway. They're struggling with these problems, and it's up to us how we solve them. With this, thank you very much.